remember when we were free, and love is all we were.
I know what successful leadership is, and so do you, because we see it on the news every day. We see it in corporate America, we see it in big business, we see it in our government. It is a man, a white man at the top of a hierarchy. Yeah, he's gained wealth, and with wealth, he's got power and he's got status. He uses an ego-driven mentality, he uses competition as his motivator, and he knows that he's succeeded when he's dominated. I'm going to call this the wealth model. I want to talk about another leadership model, one that you know just as well, one that you're intimate with, and one that women tend to thrive with. This is the model that we use at Burning Man. Burning Man is a city. It's a city in the desert. 70,000 people will come this year from all over the globe. It'll be the 5th largest city in Nevada for the 1 week that it exists. It'll take 7,500 volunteers and 60 year-round employees to pull this thing off. Like any other city, it has a hospital, it has a fire department, it has the busiest airport in northern Nevada for 1 week. And we couldn't pull this off if we didn't have very, very strong underpinnings of leadership. So let me tell you about this other leadership model. I call it the fulfillment model. Social capital. You cannot buy your way into a position of leadership. You can't be voted in, and you can't be hired into it. You have to be accepted by your peers to be a leader. Once you're there, you use nurturing as your tool. Believe me, nurturing is not for the faint-hearted. It's much easier to hand somebody a paycheck and tell them what to do than it is to enlist them, to get them to be one with you, and then to want to help you. So when you actually reach your goal, you do a lot more than get success. You have asked people to be invested with you. They are personally invested, and they feel a sense of fulfillment. We use a we-driven, not an I or ego-driven mentality. We use collaboration, not competition. And we use any tool, the best tool we can possibly find to get the job done. We're not terribly picky. This is the way we run Burning Man. There's a few key practices that I found that are really important to making this work. The first one is flexibility. We're all humans. We have good days and bad days. Your nanny gets sick, you have to bring your kid to work. That's okay. Somebody else's idea is better than yours. Give it up. It's a better idea. You know, find an opportunity to say it's okay to fail. Failing is a great opportunity for learning. So flexibility. The second practice is recognition. I see you. And I can tell what you're doing is valuable, and I want to thank you. Please and thank you goes a really long way. The third practice is ritual and ceremony. To be in a moment of celebration and to be able to see how you as the individual fit into the greater context of the greater whole is extremely powerful. And the last practice only happens when your team is rocking it, when they're working at their highest performance level, and there is trust and there is respect. And then you can be vulnerable. Then you can speak your mind. It's okay to say, I don't think you got that right, can I help you? Or I'm feeling insecure, would you give me some backup? This is the way we run Burning Man. And Burning Man is run by women. It almost always has been. There are 6 founders, 3 men and 3 women. It took every bit of every one of us to get this thing where it is today, but I think it's a little interesting that the women decided to take on building the community, driving the business, and creating the programming. Back in 1994, I had an idea that had me curating where people camped in our city. Then I spent the next 5 to 7 years finding ways to have people be able to come to our city and plug in more quickly. In the early 2000s, I was handed life safety. That means fire, medical, radio communications, huge in the middle of nowhere, our rangers. And at that point, I became the city manager. And I had the honor of working with 60 volunteer teams for the next 10 years. 60 teams of people who were giving their heart and soul for free to create a safety net, to allow 70,000 people to show up for a 1-week ephemeral, crazy mashup of creativity, prototyping, self-expression, and art. And then leave with no trace left behind. While I was doing this, my friend, my colleague, and now our CEO, Marion Goodell, was creating our social media platform, our tech department, and running our business. And my other colleague, Crimson Rose, was creating our hallmark programming, interactive art. Art that you can touch, play with, climb on, help make. And from here on in, all the visuals you're going to see are pieces of art that women have made. Women have made this art by creating their own volunteer teams. How do they do it? By really listening, by making dinners, by teaching people skills they didn't have otherwise, by learning how to make a business, for-profit, nonprofit, cooperative, by asking for expertise from experts in areas that they didn't have those skill sets. And in so doing, they allowed people to give of themselves for free to something that was more meaningful because they were involved in it, and more meaningful than the work they were doing that they were getting paid for. I think it was about more than 15 years now. I was tired. It was the end of the event. I sat down on a hay bale, and this guy sat down next to me, and he said, "Do you know what I love about Burning Man?" I was like, "What?" He said that all the women know how to use power tools, and the men aren't afraid to wear skirts. I love that. And that man walked into my life at a very important moment, because I had been volunteering all these years, and I was pushing 40, and I knew that I was making some very big decisions about what I could do in my own lifetime. And I decided to take another job. I got another fabulous job. I was a firefighter in San Francisco, but what a shame, I was doing it for a paycheck. So when he asked me to marry him, I knew that we had bridged the gap between this wealth model and this fulfillment model, and we were lucky. I was going to have what I wanted, and so was he. But I can't tell you how many other people I know, families that'll never own their own home, artists, just amazing people that'll never be respected for their true gifts because it isn't valued by corporate America or because it isn't prioritized by our government. And what of the women who are working in corporate America and are getting paid less? The only thing I'll say about that here right now, because we don't have that much time, is that if I had to walk into an office and say why I was more valuable or more important than my staff or my colleagues for money, I would not fare very well. That's not my paradigm. And as a matter of fact, let's turn that on its ear. In my paradigm, it's my job as a leader and a boss to know my staff, to reward them for their strengths, and to help them where they're weak. So what I want to say is that after 30 years of what we call an experiment in temporary society, temporary culture, Burning Man, we can claim success. No one's getting rich, but we are sufficient. And we are growing. People are choosing this fulfillment role model over the other. And how do I know that? Because we are now 280 strong around the globe. We have 66 sanctioned events and hundreds of other unsanctioned events. We have nonprofits that we've spun off. I know that we're successful because we have not sold out and we've made it to the mainstream. We're name dropped in all kinds of TV programs. Let's see, our fashion has made mainstream. Think tanks want to think with us. Learning institutions care what we have to say. People are making movies about us. People are writing books about us. And the thing that I want people to tell, the story I want to be out there, is that we are valuing people over money. We are valuing your contribution over your status. And we are valuing your participation in your community over your power. So this is it. Burning Man would not be what it is if it wasn't for the women that have made it and are making it now. Truth. But more than that, Burning Man is a permission engine. We allow people the right to find their light. And we are helping them escape some of the trappings of money so that their light can burn brighter. Thank you.